So today we are doing a review of a gargantuanly big, big, Everest-sized movie called Anora. Anora is the new Mikey Madsen movie, directed by Sean Baker, starring Mikey Madsen. Um, Sean Baker is the director of Tangerine, um, Red Rocket, I think. Florida Project or something like that. I have to admit, I actually have not seen his other films. I think I saw Tangerine maybe, but yeah, I'm not. I'm definitely gonna go back and see the rest of his filmography. But this is probably the first one I've seen and properly paid attention to. So, Anora, what is it about? Anora is about a girl named Annie slash Anora, played by Mikey Madsen, and she is an exotic dancer slash sex worker, and her grandma speaks Russian only, so Anora could understand and speak a little bit of Russian. Anyway, these big spender Russian billionaires come into this club, and they go, "Can we please have a Russian-speaking exotic dancer?" So here comes Anora. So Anora dances with this young billionaire called Vanya. I think his name is Vanya. I'm not checking my laptop, so if you have an issue with that, let me know in the comments below. And then he says, "Do you do extras?" So she ends up going back to has sex with him for money, and then eventually he's like, "Do you just want to be my girlfriend for like the foreseeable future, and I'll pay you?" And she goes, "Yes." And then eventually they do like a shotgun sort of Vegas wedding, and then boom, that's half the film done. Second half of the film, this Russian billionaire, this young boy, his parents in Russia find out, and they send the Godfather, who is in America. The Godfather's in America, and he comes with these two henchmen to find Vanya and hold this exotic dancer, Nora, and make sure they have a divorce by the time the Russian parents get to America. That's the story in a nutshell. It's the best film of the year. Best film I've seen of the year. Sorry. I'm sorry, The Substance. It's the best film I've seen of the year. I'm sorry, Alien Romulus. It's just... I don't know how to describe it. It's so full of love for its main character. Like, yes, the main character goes through a lot in this film, but it never looks down on her. The film doesn't belittle her. Some characters might look down on her, but the film doesn't. And us as the audience, we don't. We love her. And we love everything that she sort of stands for. She's a fighter. She's brash. She's loud. She's extremely sensitive. She's got a huge sensitive side. She's full of gumption. She speaks her mind. It's a dichotomy of a character because, she's a lady that has to convince men that she likes them. She plays the role of a lady who is attracted to all these men that she's dancing with. She plays that role. So she's on one hand playing a role, but simultaneously on the other hand, she is sort of unapologetically herself. And she does this at the same time. And that's just a great feat of acting, in my opinion. It's just amazing. She's so unashamedly herself. She'll speak her mind when she needs to, but at the same time, she has to present herself as someone who is attracted to these men who are paying for her to have sex with her. And yeah, this Russian billionaire comes into her life, and you see her sort of growing more and more sort of attached to the idea of him and the idea of maybe being his wife. And he is eccentric and strange and weird as well. And then the second half of the film, you meet these brand new characters, the Godfather and the two henchmen. Like, you haven't seen them in the film before. They come in and they take over, and you're like, you'd think you'd be like, "Oh no, I miss the young Russian billionaire," but no, these three characters are so funny and they're so interesting to watch that that they're so chaotic. You just watch them and you're just like, I love watching these three Russians as well. Like, every bit of acting on this screen is incredible. I don't know what else I can say. It's just so full of life. It's taking you it's taking you to so many different locations and different. There's so much sex in the film. There's lots of nudity. There's drugs. There's alcohol. There's a lot of money being spent, and you kind of fall in love with the lifestyle. Even it doesn't look down on that lifestyle at all. The drugs, the video games, it doesn't really judge that lifestyle that much. You watch it and you kind of you're endeared by it. You kind of do think this just looks like a fun life. What can I say? And yeah, yes, she's a prostitute, and yes, it's an industry which some people definitely frown upon a lot, but the movie doesn't. Seriously, the movie, I mean, it doesn't celebrate the sex industry, but it never degrades her in that sense. She is completely and utterly a human character, and it's so interesting to watch, and you don't ever judge her. You don't feel like, as an audience member, you want to judge her because the director and the writer haven't judged her. And Jesus, it's just so good. It's just such a great film. I thoroughly recommend this film. Seriously, go and watch it. If you have any film that you want to watch this year, make it this film. It's a real adult film with adult themes. It's hilarious. It's the funniest film I've seen this year. It's one of those films that, this is the mark of a good film. This director, Sean Baker, he can have me wide-eyed, excited, and thrilled whenever he wants me to be. He can have me laughing my head off at the next scene. He can have me stressed. He can have me angry whenever he wants. He can have me like so sad and like crying. He's just toying with my emotions, and he's got me. He's got me in the palm of his hand. He's just playing me, and he grabs hold of you as an audience member, and he takes you on the journey that he wants to take you on. And it doesn't go the way that you want it necessarily. It doesn't necessarily go the way you think it's going to go. You start falling in love with different characters, these henchmen. You just have so much love for all the different characters. It's so exciting to watch. It's so funny and lively and breathless. You're just breathless watching it, if I'm honest with you. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit of a spoiler about the ending, the very, very end of the film. It's a bizarre ending. So if you don't want any spoilers at all, then just go. You're not wanted here, basically. Just subscribe, obviously, and like it, but you're not wanted here. So go. So you've been warned. Spoiler. I'm going to talk about the ending because it's a bizarre ending. It's a weird ending, and I'm going to tell you my opinion, my interpretation of it. So the ending is Mikey Madsen, Anora. She ends up sort of giving in, and having this divorce. And she gets a little bit of money for it, for her troubles. And she's been through a lot. She's been tied up. She's been gagged. She's had to fight every inch of this film. She's just had to fight and fight and fight to fight her own corner and fight for herself. You know, she's been going around the whole of Boston. I think it's set in Boston. She's been going around Boston looking for Vanya. I keep thinking his name is Vanya. I'm not sure if that's correct. I'm just going to double check that very, very quickly, because if I'm wrong, that's so embarrassing. But yeah, she's been going around left, right, and center looking for him, and yeah, she's just been through so much. He's mean to her. At one point, he says, "Are you stupid? Of course we have to get divorced." And that's just like that's heartbreaking. When he says that, it's just like, Jesus, how can you say that? That's so mean. So yeah, just bear with me one moment. I just want to really make sure his name is what I think it is. I mean, he's just a great actor. Yeah, I think it's Vanya. Anyway, whatever his name is his name. But yeah, so she gets dropped off back home by one of the henchmen, who she hated at first because the henchmen tied her up and gagged her. But he's sort of ended up becoming quite nice, trying to support her, and he's dropped her back home. And it's snowing, it's cold, they're in the car, and he's like, after this whole ordeal, it's been a crazy 24 hours, right? And he's like, you can go. And she doesn't leave, she doesn't get out the car. And like I say, she's been through so much. It's been very dramatic. It's all her dreams have been crushed basically, and she's been embarrassed. She's got a lot of pride, Anora, but all her dreams have been crushed, and it's been kind of crazy. But like I say, she's just had to fight and fight and fight. But she doesn't leave the car. She's got a little bit of cash, but she doesn't leave the car. Instead, she straddles this henchman who we've sort of grown to like a little bit. She straddles him in the car, sort of puts the back seat down, and starts to arouse him, and then starts to have sex with him. And so they're having sex in the car. It's snowing outside, and he kind of leans in for a kiss a little bit, and she tries to pull away, and she, whilst having sex with him, starts slapping him and hitting him and like acting as if she's being a little bit assaulted by him, which is, throwing back to an earlier conversation where she said, like, you assaulted me, you would have raped me if no one else was in the room. And he was like, no, I'm not a rapist, which was a great scene, by the way. But yeah, so she's on top of him. She got on top of him. She sort of started this whole thing. He leans in for a kiss. She sort of pulls away and hits him. And like he tries to calm her down a little bit and like just hold her, and he looks a bit surprised, and she fights him as if, and it's only lasting about 10 seconds, right? She fights him and then stops, and then she bursts into tears and collapses sort of into his chest. And that's the final shot of the film. So what could it mean? What could that possibly be? What is that? Well, I find it analogous to a situation that I was in. So when my dad died of COVID, it was a really stressful situation. I had, there was some stranger basically called me to tell me, and then I had to try and get hold of the hospital. It was in the middle of COVID. It was almost impossible to get any information. And then finally it was confirmed that he died, and I was on my way to London. It was the middle of the winter, and I got to the hospital. My brother was there, my younger brother, and I definitely take a lot of responsibility for my younger siblings, and I want to be someone strong and stable for them. And so he cried on me, and I didn't cry. And we went to see my dad's body, and again I didn't cry. And I was trying to be strong for my brother. But I could feel something in me wasn't released properly. And, the next week went by, and it was the middle of winter, and I decided at one point to just go out in the middle of the night, freezing cold, to go out to this park. And I came across, it's in the middle of London, so the parks can be quite dangerous at night. I came across this group of boys there, and got into an altercation with them, got into a little bit of a scuffle, a fight. Like it could have been really dangerous. I wasn't too badly hurt, just a little bit roughed up a bit. It wasn't too bad. Like, I'm not being dramatic. I wasn't going to get stabbed or anything, but it could have been bad. It could have been quite dangerous, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. But I guess I went out looking for it in some weird way. And after that kind of fight, I cried. And I feel like I cried for like the next 24 hours straight. And I wasn't crying because of the fight. I was obviously crying because of my dad. And what's strange about that is that it's like I needed the fucking energy of distress again to let me cry. I needed the adrenaline of a little bit of danger to let me release the sadness, the crying that I needed to do. And it's kind of weird. And this isn't something that I did consciously. It's something I realized after sort of intense reflection about that weird night. And yeah, when I'm watching Anora, it's like she kind of orchestrates a situation where she's distressed again. he tries to kiss her and she's fighting him off like she's being assaulted, and that allows her to cry. And that's not something I ever thought I'd be able to witness and be like, I completely and utterly relate to that, because it's such a bizarre, complicated, I guess, human thing that doesn't necessarily make exact sense at the moment. But the moment I saw it in Anora, it threw me back to that night in the park and me being able to cry again. And it just made me just be like, this is a fucking phenomenally beautiful, complicated, wonderful film. And my camera just ran out. And it's the perfect way to end this. So it is what it is, guys. Go and watch this film.